everyone, and welcome to Talks at Google. My name is Suzette, and I am absolutely thrilled to introduce today's guest. He is an Emmy-nominated writer, director, producer, stand-up comedian, and co-creator of Chappelle's Show. He's worked in film, TV shows, commercials, stand-up, podcasting, and with huge talent from Chris Rock to so many others. In fact, you might even be one of his biggest fans and not even realize it. In his new theatrical comedy show, Neal Brennan, Unacceptable, which is currently running in New York City at the Cherry Lane Theater, Neal meticulously examines his own defects, attempting to understand his baffling inability to fit into a group and the alienation that comes along with it. Incorporating true stories from his childhood through the present, Neal delivers an incredibly powerful, poignant narrative comedy that takes us all on a rich emotional journey. And if you're joining us live today, we will be taking audience questions towards the end of the talk. So please be sure to add all your questions for Neal throughout the discussion at any time in the live stream comments section. So without further ado, please welcome Neal Brennan.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. How is everybody? Or I guess we can't.
Good. I mean, yeah, we can't.
Know.
Yeah, you'll never know. I mean, I'm going to just go with good.
Great.
Cool. So first off, congrats on Unacceptable. Wow, what an amazing show. Can you tell everybody a bit about it? What exactly is Unacceptable?
It's basically, I realized, like, I guess I was just trying to understand my own loneliness and then wondering if I had anything to do with it. And turns out I did. I just have I just don't really do it. I'm 47, never been married, don't have kids, don't really drink, don't really smoke weed, don't eat meat. All my I've weird career-wise, I've been on my own trajectory. There's nobody that I'm like very similar to. Mm-hmm. It's just I'm sort of a man without a country, so to speak. So the show was about that, and then also what being that does to you first person. I think it's I'm glad to do it after COVID because I think a lot of people were isolated and kind of got to see what isolation does to you. You blame yourself. Yeah. You kind of blame yourself, even though you know it's a pandemic. You kind of feel like something's wrong with you somehow, just because we still have these primordial operating systems, and we think that if we're alone, we've been abandoned by the tribe.
Wow, that's a great way of putting that, like, feeling when you have that space to think. And I really liked how the show wasn't just a series of unrelated jokes, but you're weaving together stories and experiences into this bigger narrative that makes people laugh, but it's also really thought-provoking. So you've called your work stand-up traumedy, hilarious and quite on point. In Unacceptable, the audience is really experiencing not just laughter, but a range of emotions. And I found this really impactful. So is this something that you intentionally thought about when you were creating the show? Can you talk more about why you chose that format?
I chose it because I'd done an hour of like just glib stand-up on Comedy Central. And it came out, nobody cared. So it was like, all right, well, I don't think I'm going to do that again just because it felt like a waste of time. Okay. So then I thought, I'll do one more show. And if people still don't care, then I'll just do something else. And I did this show 3 mics. And that was sort of the beginning of my stand-up traumedy. In that, I think people, if, like I always say to Chris Rock and Dave and all these guys, like, if I could, they can crush harder than me, right? They can get bigger. It's not by a lot, like 15%, right?
15% crush in like performance art or what are you talking about?
No, performing like if if you just put the laughter on a meter, their laughs will probably be a little louder and a little longer. Okay. So I thought, well, the only way I can kind of not even beat them, but be competitive in the category is if I add something else. And the thing that I can do is write well and express feelings well. Like express feelings well in that I've been going to therapy a long time. I'm a fairly, clever person or whatever.
Just a little.
Yeah, I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
I look, I'm not here to compliment myself. So I'm a decent writer. So I figured if I could write about emotional states and mix it in with the comedy, it makes people like the comedy more. It just makes people like the whole thing more.
Interesting. Yeah. And as you mentioned, the past, year plus has been without a question really challenging and unexpected for everyone. Were you actually creating the show during the pandemic, or was this something that was in the works for a while?
No, it was something that was in the works, and we were actually going to do it before. Like, I had the theater for March 2020.
Wow.
But in a way, I'm not glad, but it works. It probably works better now in that everyone's kind of felt the feeling of alone. I opened the show by asking, like, how many people found the last year difficult and how many people were secretly fine with it? Because it is about, it's like the joke I followed that up with is COVID was kind of like, you experienced some discomfort there, extroverts, enjoy that. So it brought everyone into, it gave everyone depression and anxiety. So
right.
Now,
it's giving everybody a flavor of maybe.
So now it just expanded my audience for stand-up trauma.
Well, thanks for leading that category of comedy. And along those lines, did you find yourself, since you did, you were ready to go in March 2020, were you rewriting or refocusing any of the content?
A ton, actually. And it was also, I rewrote a lot. I probably read an extra, it's probably 25 minutes of like comedy in it. And yeah, so I was able to take the experience. It's not like a COVID show. Like it would have worked without it, but
yeah,
I think it just gets everybody in the mind of isolation. I think.
Yeah. And I mean, what I absolutely loved about Unacceptable is, as somebody watching it, and that process of watching and reacting to you, dissecting things all unacceptable to you on stage, and also challenging why those things are unacceptable in the first place. I mean, like,
well, I'm not married, but I bet I can tell you why, and you'd be like, all right.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, yeah. All right. I see your point. But yeah, it's me, but it's me kind of grappling with it. Like, should I be married? The world's telling me to do this thing, and my spirit is telling me something else. And I end up feeling bad because when I follow my spirit, I feel bad because the world's against me. And when I follow the world, I feel bad because my spirit's against me. So I just end up in this, like, the whole show, I'm kind of doing this. It's the kind of the wisdom to know the difference thing of which to pursue.
Yeah. And you really do that so well up on the stage. And I honestly, you're really giving people an opportunity to perhaps reevaluate their own versions of what they might feel are unacceptable about themselves.
Yeah, ideally that's what it is. I mean, honestly, the last 20 minutes, I mean, not last 20 minutes, a lot of the relationship stuff is aimed at women. Meaning, meaning if you don't get married and have kids, your life wasn't a waste. Which I think women sort of feel that women get fed that earlier and more often than men, and it's very hard for. I think it takes a lot of energy and like a level of anger for women to believe that, to really believe it. Like, oh, I haven't thrown my life away if I don't get married and have kids.
Yeah.
So
no, absolutely. And is this like one of the goals is like to take away some of that perceived power in that flaw of like, it's not a flaw, and maybe help people see a different perspective there, approaching like with themselves with more care and kindness than anything.
Yeah, ideally. I mean, that's the ideally everyone will come out of this. It's about I'm developing a better relationship with myself on stage. And hopefully you will walk out and think, in what ways am I doing that also? In what ways am I beating myself up and not showing myself any kindness? And what are the areas if you're being immoral or bad about something, work on it. But if you have a natural inclination that runs counter to the world, I think it's okay to accept it it's okay to accept that part of yourself.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I mean, I think you certainly achieved that in the show. So let's
all right. Well, Suzette, what did you, if I may pry,
sure,
what areas in your life when you left the show did you think, did it make you think I need to maybe deal with that differently?
I mean, you're just putting me on the spot here. I don't know if anybody wants to hear about me, but I think
that's people are like, are you worried about saying all that stuff on stage? I'm like, I just go first.
Yeah.
I don't, because that's what happened with 3 mics is like, I did 3 mics and everyone's like, were you? And I was like, no, because now everyone DMs me and says they have mental health issues and I help them treat it. And it's great.
100%. And I mean, that's one area for me that's huge, and appreciative of the way that you talk about that in Unacceptable, as well as 3 mics and all your work. But yeah, I mean, from everything, to relationships.
Suzette, you're not answering my question.
Honestly, I think in your description of approaching what the cultural acceptable, way to appreciate a pet, a dog, a cat, the way you describe it, I'm at the complete opposite spectrum of that.
That's so for the viewer, like everybody said I got a dog, and everybody said it's going to be my best friend. He's maybe my 9th best friend.
Oh,
we're cool. He's like a good roommate, king of the good boys, great guy. Keith, 10 years into the relationship, but it's like he's not in my Christmas card.
He's not in your Christmas card. Wow.
No.
I think for me, I'm the opposite, where my cats are the Christmas card every year. Yeah.
All right, good. Well, that's what you actually believe. Then you're a cat lady, which is its own.
But is that unacceptable?
Well, I mean, it is a cultural aspersion, but if you really are a cat lady, great.
Just embrace it. Roll with it, right?
Embrace it. You're a cat lady.
I love it. Okay. Thank you.
You got it.
All right, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk a bit more about your whole career. And why not start at the beginning? When did you know that you wanted to pursue a career in comedy? Like, what's your comedy origin story?
My comedy origin story is I was always funny. Like, I was a funny kid. I was funny in school. And then my brother became a comedian when I was in high school, or maybe late grade school. So he was is a comedian. He lived in New York. I lived in Philly. So I would come up on the weekends, and my brother worked the door at the Improv, which is no longer there, but he worked the door at the Improv in New York on 44th and 9th. And so I'm in high school and getting to see Brian Regan and Robin Williams and Ray Romano. And
were you just hooked like immediately?
Yeah. It's like, if you're funny, like I was funny, and then I get to see my brother being a comedian, like having a life, and him and Dave Attell, another comedian, like worked the door at the Improv. So I've known Attell since I was like 13.
Wow.
I've known Romano probably since I was 14. Like guys, Ray Romano, who was not successful then, like a lot of people who were not successful. So then I wanted to go to New York for just showbiz generally, got into NYU Film School, which I didn't deserve to. I think I just made a funny film, and like my grades are bad. And so then I'm at NYU, and then I start working the Door to Comedy Club. The only other guy my age is Dave Chappelle, both 18. He's doing great. I'm in film school.
Well, you're just starting. So, I mean,
I mean, we're 18, 17, 18. So he started when he was 14, though. So he was already like, he was booking movies and TV shows and stuff. So, you know, I'm working the Door at the Comedy Club, and on an average night, it would be Chappelle, Jon Stewart, Louis C.K., Mark Maron, Sarah Silverman, David Tell, like Ray Romano, like not successful people. And then they're all sort of like older than me. And then everybody just kind of grows, you know, and I would give them little punchlines here and there, like maybe say this or that. Dave was the most.
Oh, you gave him notes.
Yeah, basically. And Dave was the most receptive in that, like, he was probably the only one I did it with, or like a very small group. But he was like, he tells the story of like, I gave him a note, and like when you give comics notes, it's like, oh, they're like tense. And it's also embarrassing because they're usually awful. And he was tense, and he was like, oh, that could actually work. So cool. And then we became friends, I got some writing jobs in LA through all the comedy club. And I wrote for Nickelodeon's All That, Keenan and Kel. And,
awesome.
I'm sorry, MTV's All That. No, I'm sorry, MTV's Singled
It's Nickelodeon. Out. Yeah.
Singled Out on MTV was my first job, and then Dave told Universal. I wrote a movie. Dave told Universal that he and I were writing a movie together. He didn't tell me.
He didn't.
No.
So wait, you're saying that you transitioned from comedy that's like just for kids to fast forward. You just kind of got sucked into
the movie
world for comedy that was
even
definitely not for adults.
Yeah, a weed movie. So the movie Half Baked, me and Dave wrote. So
very cool. Yeah.
So then I became a screenwriter. Then me and Dave did the TV show, and that ended pretty spectacularly. It was spectacular, including the ending. He went to Africa. It sort of imploded. It's still sort of a touch. I don't know. It's still like a thing. And then I became a comedian full time in like 2007 or 8, and that's what I've been doing. I do stand up, and I direct TV commercials, and occasionally I'll direct. I directed Amy Schumer's first season of Inside Amy Schumer.
Awesome.
And Seth Meyers' stand-up special, and I consult with, and I EP'd Chris Rock's last stand-up special and Ellen's last one as well.
Nice. So, I mean, I would say you clearly have exceptional versatility in comedic arts. So, like writing, producing, directing, anywhere there is great comedy, your name is just somewhere on there. Somewhere in some
even
capacity.
As an anagram, you can find it.
Nice. And yeah, as I mentioned in the intro, like some people watching might be huge fans of your work and not even really realize it. Which is really cool to think about.
Yes, and insulting. I want that because it's insulting a little bit because like I'm on Netflix, like you can find me. It's not like I'm off the beaten path. Like I have 3 mics on Netflix. I have Comedians of the World on Netflix. I have like 2 hours of material on Netflix. Nice. So I'm on Dave's Mark Twain thing. So
yes, that was awesome.
Yeah. So like, you know, I do all right.
You do okay, yeah. And I mean, clearly it seems as though everybody wants to work with you. So, I mean, how do you get involved in so many projects in such different capacities? Is there like a Neal Brennan bat symbol that goes up that's like, hey, we need to get your attention? We need you working on this project.
It's more, I mean, I don't like working that much.
Okay.
So I do like doing commercials because they're fast and somewhat low wear and tear, and I don't really have to write them. I can punch them up. With like Bat Signal, I like it's just if I'm moved by the person, I'll help. It's that simple. It's like Chris is one of my comedy heroes. He asked me to EP his last special. Done. Ellen's one of the most important Americans of the last 100 years. No problem. And not to mention hilarious. So like I'm flattered. I'm flattered that they would ask, but I'm like a gym rat. I like being around comedy. Like I'm not trying to get out of it. I'm not trying to be like, it's about time I transition to, I like it. I like
That's
the
awesome.
job. So I just don't like to do it too much.
I see. Okay.
30 hours a week.
30 is a lot. Yeah,
I mean, I didn't want to insult anybody. It's really more like 20.
20. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and maybe this is a good question. Like, so what haven't you done? Is there like a creative role in the industry or even outside of comedy that you haven't taken on that you think you might want to do?
Well, the cool thing is, I've always wanted, I kind of only watch documentaries in terms of, like when people go, do you watch Seinfeld? Not really. Do you watch Curb? Not really. Do you watch Dave on Netflix?
Right.
Dave on Netflix? I just don't watch shows, right? I watched The Sopranos and Family Ties. Those are my
very similar works.
Yeah. Like in terms of like, and The Wire, I watched the entire canon. So, I like documentaries, and then kind of out of the blue, Kevin Hart, who I've known for 15 years and I do those Chase commercials with, asked me to make a documentary. And so we're going to and it's one of those things like he didn't know that. That's just like one of those weird things, but it kind of proves spiritually everything I've ever gotten has come from a comedy club.
Wow.
Like I've known Kevin. People ask me how long have I known Kevin? I've known Kevin so long that we did a show one time. He bombed horribly. This is in like 2003. I dabbled a little bit with stand-up. He bombed horribly, and then I was on, and I told the audience, "You guys better behave, or I'm going to bring Kevin back." So that's like 18 years ago. It's just like a thing, like anything people know about, it's just from being funny.
And like in that environment.
And it's also like the commiseration and like, that's not very many people have that experience of like, you're just in the bullpen, and then you finally get, and then Kevin got called, so it's a cool thing, and it's gratifying that people, whenever I get down on myself, I'm like, well, how much better could this be going, buddy?
Seriously.
I guess I would like to do bigger. I would like to do bigger venues. I would like to do like bigger theaters.
Do you think that it would, change the way, like the style of show, change like your performance, anything like that, or just kind of
I don't think it'll
feeling the energy of
it's the ego stuff, to be honest. Honestly, it's not gonna make my life any better.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a dumb ego thing of like, why is he or she doing?
You got to check the box, right?
I know. And I want to I'm just I do that. I sold that out too. Like, just dumb ego stuff.
Sure.
I mean, a lot of life is dumb ego stuff.
Yeah. Which, you cover a bit in Unacceptable in some capacity. Yeah. So I'd love to talk a little bit more about Three Mics, because Unacceptable is your second solo show. Three Mics around 2015, 2016 was your first off-Broadway show, which again, if anyone here hasn't seen it, definitely go watch it. It is amazing. Go check it out. And it's appropriately titled because you have 3 mics on stage. Each one has a different purpose. One-liner, stand-up, and then, as you put it, emotional stuff. How did you come up with that premise?
It was after I'd done the hour for Comedy Central. Nobody really cared, and I just thought I looked at my limitations as a performer, and I think that the limitations as a performer are largely mental health based.
Yeah.
Meaning, the reason I'm not like dripping in charisma like some of my colleagues is because I have clinical depression, and it puts a little damper on things. So
just a little,
I basically wanted to explain that. I wanted to explain that as kind of like a mea culpa, and explain to people like, hey, I'm not a jerk. I just have a jerky face. So so the 3 mic, and I was listening to that show, The Moth, a lot, that radio show. And I just thought, I feel like I could do that. And if I did, and I had a bunch of one-liners from Twitter that I never really did on stage. Because if you're not a one-liner comedian, it's just weird to just do a one-liner. So I was like, if I segregate these things into 3 mics, this could be a show. And then I tried it on a show called Meltdown on Comedy Central, like a 6-minute version of it. And it's one of those things like, oh, this will work. So so then I built out a full show, and it worked out great.
That's awesome. Were you at all nervous how people would react? I guess before you did that 6-minute test, were you at all nervous how people would react to like a dedicated emotional stuff microphone in the context of a comedy show?
I think if they saw it, the people who liked it the most were comedians, actually. Like, I mean, there's probably some people that are like, I'm cheating, or he's whatever, like he doesn't have the time, or what. I could have done an hour stand-up. They're the people who like the most and are the most appreciative of showing the inner life of a person, comedian, performer. And like I said earlier, in terms of the things I was talking about, I think it's pretty revealing family wise. And I think some of my siblings were a little bit like, a little bit miffed, we'll say, until they saw the reaction. And like I said, I just went first. Everyone's from a screwed up family. Yeah. I just went first. So, and I think I think they're all happy about it.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, we all are. It was great. And lots of your comedy, 3 mics, Unacceptable, and just you talking, generally in public, you're illuminating such important topics in mental health. And I think one of the most effective things that you're doing in your work is how you're presenting your experiences with depression as something that's like happened to you, without a intense judgment or the taboo-ness that sometimes people carry with them around that.
Yeah, that's the thing that never manifested in me. I never got a sense. Maybe it's like when I went to, I remember we went to like family counseling in the late 80s. And it was like kind of useful. And then in the early 90s, people started taking medication. I didn't, not for lack, like I refused. I wasn't going to a therapist. I started going to a therapist in 1998 when I got insurance from Half Baked. Thank you again, weed. And I don't know, it was really helpful. And I got on medication that was really helpful. And I just saw it as like a help. I don't see it as weakness. It's like, if you think I'm weak, in what department? Like, what do you like you want to do like a decathlon? Like, what do you want to do? Like, do you want to do a physical fitness, and then we compare careers and money and like, what do you,
Right.
what do you want to do? If you want to compare happiness levels, sir or ma'am, you probably can beat me. But like, that's not because I'm weak. Like, I can withstand anything.
Yeah.
Most
Yeah.
clinically depressed people I know could withstand waterboarding, could withstand.
There's like a resilience that comes with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And a numbness, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, even if this is something that comes naturally to just the way you're talking about it, you know, the how you're talking about it, I think is really been key in chipping away at some of the stigma associated with talking about mental health. Do you like intentionally, like, knowing that, like, do you intentionally try and continue to talk about it in that way?
Not really. I mean, with Unacceptable, I did it because, I mean, it's more like not even marketing, but people are like, how are you going to follow that? David Letterman actually said, how are you going to follow 3 mics?
Really?
And, yeah.
No pressure there.
I mean, I know, but it was like, and he asked me, and I was like, I think I have a way, right? Because I didn't. Now, having said that, people like me just doing stand up too, like, because a lot of people are like, why all the sad stuff? So it's more about, I don't see myself as I don't see it as a thing where like, well, I have to do stand up, and then I do have to do some mental health. I just see it as like, because I can be fairly eloquent about the stuff, and if I can do a good version, if I can make it arresting or interesting, like, and it fits into the show, I'll do it. But I don't go into it as like, well, there's my advocacy work, and then there's, you know.
But you are doing, incredible advocacy work, even if you're not aware.
Yeah, but it's not
intentional about it.
Not.
Yeah.
It's not like by design necessarily.
Yeah. And I guess when you're writing, when you're storytelling, you're writing about it. Do you think about then, writing jokes, including a stigmatized subject, like how you approach the humor, like to not take the seriousness away from it, if it's something you do want to include in that story?
Yeah, I don't, in terms of subject matter, I mean, I could make it funny. I think depression is one of those things where I've seen people make it funny. Gary Goldman and Chris Gethard and Maria Bamford, 3 comedians who've all done stuff about depression specifically. But I'm more concerned about, like, I don't know, like, I don't really do jokes about it that much. I think like the extroverted enjoy some discomfort is like about the only and feeling like uncomfortable in the world, but I don't know if that's mental health per se.
Yeah.
And if I do get laughs, it's probably within a story that isn't necessarily about mental health. It might just be a story, a situation.
Well, like you described so well, like social anxiety in approaching, I think, like
it's a garbage can. I say the joke is most of my social interactions feel like when you go to one of those garbage cans, it's got like a garbage hole, a recycling hole, and a compost hole, and you do your best, but afterward you're like, I don't think I did that right. Like, that's how people with social anxiety feel a lot of the time.
Yeah. And then you think about it afterwards.
What else? I mean, in 2 hours right there.
Sure. Yeah.
And I have a song on Instagram called Nobody's Mad at You.
Okay.
And it's basically that people are like, I sing that song to myself every day because I get so I just convince myself that everyone's mad all the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's awesome too, to hear from people about your work like that. For sure. So before we move on to audience questions, which I'm sure we'll have some great ones, I just wanted to call out again, like, how people have been raving about Unacceptable. And for everyone watching this show, the run was extended to November 21st. So you have a couple more weeks to go out and see it. But Neal,
Unacceptableshow.com.
Unacceptableshow.com. Yes, go there. Get your tickets. Neal, what do you hope people take away from your show?
I hope that they take away that I hope, like I said to you, I hope that they have they come away with a level of acceptance for themselves, and that like the things they feel are not, again, if they're moral and they're harmless, that they don't have to beat themselves up anymore. They don't have to beat themselves. They don't have to punish themselves because that's what the world's sort of telling them to do. It's a very hard thing to come to believe because the world is very loud, and it's relentless, and
especially in this digital era.
Yeah, for sure. So that's what I hope people come away with, is that just a little bit of kindness for themselves, or a little bit of grace for themselves.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for writing it. So let's flip over to some audience questions. Let's see what we have.
Can I see them?
Yeah, I think we're going to get somebody to put them up.
The
All right, here we go. Okay, Christina, did you ever think the Chappelle Show was going to be as crazy big as it is?
That's another one of those things where like the world's telling you one thing and you're like, I'm pretty sure. So here's like a funny showbiz anecdote. So me and a buddy of mine, a guy who was writing Saturday Night Live, are going around pitching a movie in 1999, I think, and for Dave Chappelle and Will Ferrell. And a number of people, most people passed on the movie, and because they wanted, I won't even say who the other two people they wanted were, because they're not bad guys, but it's like, I kept thinking, are we crazy? Like, I think this idea is funny. I think we're funny. I think those guys are funny. So it's me, Dave, Will Ferrell, and the writer is a guy named Mike Schur, who created Good Place, Parks and Rec.
Oh,
so it's like, people never know. People are always behind. They're just behind about people in showbiz can mostly only sense crowds. They can't sense quality. So I always just thought Dave was just like so fun. It was so funny. It was baffling why he wasn't more popular. So people go like, did you do the show as a show as like for diversity? And I was like, no, we just did it because Dave was so funny and we were so mad that he wasn't more popular.
Yeah.
And like people only had time for like, no, we picked Chris Rock and the Kings of Comedy, and that's good. Like I literally told Cedric and Chris last week, I was like, we did the show because we were mad at you guys. But it's not even mad at them. It's just mad at the system that makes it. So,
exactly.
So
yeah.
To answer the question, I didn't ever think it would get as big as it was, but it means the world to me. Like,
that's awesome. Yeah.
It means the world to me.
Yeah. And you're not surprised when you see like all the memes and, the consistent shares
in
on.
In some ways, it's almost like I had nothing to do with it. I can't even explain it. Like it's like, I can't. Dave Grohl was talking about being in Nirvana, which is, I think, fairly analogous. And he said when he hears "Smells Like Teen Spirit," he just remembers his point of view in the studio.
Oh,
and he's like,
okay.
I'm just there, and Kurt's there, and Butch is there, and you're just like, my recollection of Chappelle Show was I was very tired, and it was hard, and so everything that happened after that, in some ways, has been weird.
It's just happened.
I can't. It's like if this became imagine we're doing this and then this becomes the most viral thing of the year, you'd be like, what? We were just talking.
Right. Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Let's flip to the next question.
Should I go?
Kate. Yeah. So how have you learned to trust your intuition as a writer? When do you know when to take advice versus sticking to your instinct?
It's a good question. It's trial and error, kind of. I mean, it's like you just it's what are you proud to show people? What or
Yeah.
even I won't go that far. What are you not embarrassed to show people? A buddy of mine named Alan Hughes, who directed the movie Menace to Society, and he directed the Jimmy Iovine Dr. Dre documentary. And you know, he's done a lot of big movies. Him and his brother directed Menace to Society. But he said he had a rag in his car because he would cry on the way home from editing every day. Wow. And then slowly but surely they got like 6 minutes good. And then they expanded that 6 minutes to 7 minutes and 8 minutes. And just like, if you're, you know, I think there's not enough reading out loud things can help. Like, that's the great thing about stand-up is like instant feedback. The feedback thing of like, is this, you know, what's the energy from other human beings? Because with other human beings, they're like, they're
like ready. They're waiting for,
yeah. But like, even with you and Unacceptable, there's like a level of like, dude, fucking thank you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like that. So it's like that with all people. And then word of mouth, if someone says, hey, someone told me your idea today, you're like, all right, this is good. But, and also, is it an original idea? Is it like an original idea, and is there humanity to it? And is there a level of, can I even do this? That's usually a good sign too. If it doesn't really remind you of anything, or if it reminds you of your favorite stuff, but it's not derivative, that's a good sign.
That's a good sign. Cool. All right, what do we have next? From Shannon, how has writing and performing Unacceptable been in healing the trauma part of the traumedy?
It's embarrassing to say, but it's embarrassing in that I do 3 mics, and a lot of it's about my dad. And I thought, first of all, my thought going into it was like, I'm not gonna be able to get sad about this every night. Turns out, wasn't a problem. Got sad every night. With this show, something's happened where I do feel like I am getting a little bit more aware of my habits and mental habits and emotional habits more than anything around rejection. And which is it's kind of the last, 10 minutes of the show. And so I think I'd say it's embarrassing because it's like, my show is healing me. Like that's embarrassing, but there is something about it where it's a bit of like, this is how I can fight back,
Yeah. You fight back and connect with other people on it too.
Yes. Connect with other people, and also fight, it's like a lot of stand-up is the world keeps telling you one thing, and then you're like, may I just say one thing? And then I go up and say, like, here's my feelings about dogs or guns or whatever I'm talking about. So, it's been helpful. I've really helped me.
Good.
You guys keep buying tickets and I'll keep the money, but I've really helped myself with this. Thank you.
Oh goodness. That's awesome. All right. Next question. Let's see. Okay. From Matt. Neal, curious if you would call yourself more of an introvert or extrovert. By the way, love you on Seth Meyers, and can't wait to see Unacceptable in November.
Great. Thank you. I think I'm more an introvert. Honestly, like I think I don't go to a party to get energy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I don't it filled me up. I get it's more like a tightrope walk. So I think that's a fairly good indicator that I'm an introvert. But I'm an opinionated, bossy introvert. How about that?
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, but how hard is that? Like you have so many people that, respect you and are grateful and want to engage with you and talk to you. And, and collaborate with you. But it being an introvert, does that make it a lot harder, like in those situations, because it takes so much energy to?
You know what it is? The way it's actually the opposite, because I worked with Ellen on her last special, and one of the most really like a lovely moment in my life is I just went to her house one day and we sat on her back patio and talked and wrote. And like that wasn't extroversion. That was just two people connecting. That's what all this stuff, it's like Chappelle show or any of this stuff or my show, or my show's me connecting with me and then the audience. With Ellen, it's like a nice moment of just me and her talking. She literally is like in shorts and flip-flop, like not I mean they were $800,000 flip-flops, but yeah, so it's more about the introversion the introversion hurts me probably as a comedian, but it doesn't hurt me as a collaborator.
Got it. Yeah. I mean, and then as a comedian, you're doing a show for 90 minutes by yourself on stage. Like, do you think being, an introvert, having anxiety, like, do you feel that when you're performing, or is it kind of a totally different experience?
It's more, it's like I'm an introvert, like I said, but I'm also opinionated and bossy and maybe a little bit of a ham. So I get through it.
You get through it's like something outweighs the other. Is that how it works?
I mean, all have a lot of dynamics. So it's a lot of like, I'm thin, and then this is like, it's an ecosystem.
Yeah.
So it is like, I get there. Although I still need a beta blocker, but that has more to do with not taking antidepressants, and it's a longer story.
Okay. All right. Story for the next call. All right. I think we have time for one more question from the audience. Let's see. All right. From Crystal, what would you not miss about comedy if you stepped away?
Good question, Crystal. I would not miss the comparison, which is what I talk about in the show. I would not miss the he's doing better than me, I'm doing better than her, she's doing, like, I would not miss the sort of ranking that's like always happening in real time. And because it's just not, comedians are like my favorite people on earth, and they're also some of the people that have hurt me more than anyone. So it's like a mixed bag of experience where they are like, in some ways, like, these are my people. And then in other ways, it's like, these people are bad for me.
Maybe it's like it's family, right?
Yeah.
Kind of similar.
Yeah.
It's like you need each other.
But you can step away from your family and keep making a living. Suzette, you can't step away from
unless you're one of the levies, and then you're kind of you're in there.
They're everywhere. So that is like, that's the thing that I would miss. And then and also having an idea and formulating it and saying it and getting a big, huge response and getting approval. That's, ham needs approval. Little hammy needs approval sometimes.
Everybody does, right?
Yeah.
Of course. So, I mean, what can we look forward to next? Am I allowed to ask that question? Is there
the thing?
Projects
I would assume that Unacceptable will stream. So, that for most people, and
which would be incredible. Let me know who to email to make that happen.
And then the thing I'm doing with Kevin, I think, with Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
With that's
The
going to be
documentary.
yeah, that's going to be a lot of work, and it probably won't be out for a year and something. But yeah, like that's kind of it. My Instagrams, of course, my famous Instagrams, my famous tweets, and of course now I'm on TikTok.
Okay.
I don't like I don't want to work that hard, but I do want to I want to enjoy my life a little bit, and
as you should, yeah.
Yeah, and so like yeah, come see the show if you're in New York.
Definitely. And I can't amplify that enough too. Neal, thank you so much for sharing your talents with all of us. We're so grateful for you, for all your amazing work. And once again, everyone, Neal Brennan, Unacceptable, is currently running at the Cherry Lane Theater in New York City through November 21st. So you can snag your tickets online at unacceptableshow.com. Definitely don't miss your chance to see this brilliant show in person. Neal, thanks again. It's been such a pleasure.
Suzette, thank you very much.
Of course.
So now we hit buttons.